But the other thing that I saw just today was the new South Park episode called The Sissies. This was weird. Basically, this episode starts off with Cartman just putting on a bow, like a pink bow, and then saying, "Oh no, I identify as a girl now." So he just, he's saying, "I identify as a girl," just so he can use the girls' bathroom. Something's wrong here, but basically, yeah, but that's what happens. So he just starts randomly. He just says, "It's like, oh yeah, it's like, I think the line is, I'm trans." It's like, because I'm trans. He says transgender for some reason instead of transgender, because it's funny. It's like, because I'm transgender. I looked at it last night. And it means I can take the girl's shitter. Like, he's doing this just so he can use the girl's bathroom. And then the girls are really annoyed with him, so they decide to build like a new special bathroom for him. And then, just to prove a point, Wendy shows up, starts identifying as a boy, just to spite Cartman. And what was interesting is that the principal and teachers were asking Mr. Garrison about what words meant, like what cisgender meant or what transgender meant, that kind of thing. And which makes sense, because Mr. Garrison for a few seasons was Mrs. Garrison, like he had a sex change and was Mrs. Garrison for a few seasons, and then had a sex change back. Because status quo is God? I don't get it. But yeah, this show has not really had a good. I really do wonder what the fuck Parker and Stone think of transgender people, because it doesn't sound like they think much of them. Them, us. Yeah, because technically I would call it. Yeah, because technically, despite me identifying as either man or woman, I would technically, I would be in that slot too. But it's just like, it's a weird episode. Like, okay, I was wondering about what Parker and Stone think of this, or whoever the fuck is writing the show are thinking of transgender people, because it's like, the thing with Mr. Garrison and Mrs. Garrison was just, one day Mrs. Garrison was just like, I thought I was on a lot of painkillers and I thought it was what I wanted. It's just like, that's not, it's just. And then I think the only time they ever really brought up non-binary genders was like when Cartman got his own bathroom, and then Stan questions like, so wait, Cartman's identifying as a girl now, and then Butters just like he's neither man or what, he's not a man, he's not a woman, he's something different, he's something completely different that you'll never understand. I'm like, wait, was that what? And meanwhile, when all this bullshit is going on with the school bathrooms, Stan's dad, Randy, is apparently like the pop singer Lord. I don't know why. Like, he said something about like it was a similar situation. Like, Randy decided to just identify as a girl so he can use the girls' bathroom, and then it snowballed into him becoming a teen pop girl singer. I don't get it. I have not seen South Park in a while, to be honest. But anyway, so. But the weird thing, and the thing is, I can understand why they're doing the bathroom thing, because the bathroom situation is it's been used before as like symbolic of most of the problems that transgender people face. Like what bathroom do you use? Do you use the one that you identify with? Like if you're a trans woman, do you use it? Like if you use the the whole possibility of like if you're a trans woman and you use the women's bathroom, you'll probably get the shit kicked out of you, or if you use the men's bathroom, you'll probably get the shit kicked out of you. That kind of thing, you know? Like someone like it's that whole fear of someone noticing, and someone noticing something off, and then pointing that out, or worse. So I can understand why they're using the bathroom situation, but it only really comes up once. Like, okay, like the bathroom, yeah, but most of the time it's just either Cartman trying to get his way by appropriating the whole transgender thing on him, or everyone else appropriating the transgender identity just to mess with Cartman. Or okay, Wendy does that like once. But it's like, but then I don't know what the fuck Stan did, but then Cartman got really pissed. Cartman got like pissed at Stan for some reason, and then started like saying shit like, you don't understand, you don't understand how I feel, man. You don't understand how I feel. You don't understand how I feel. You know what? Basically just making fun of him, like saying, calling him cisgender. You know what, we call you sissies, and I'm like, okay, a more accurate term would have been cis scum, but because cis scum is the term I've actually seen like on Tumblr, you know, but yeah, sissies, why not? But and that's what and then everybody kind of turns on Stan for that, and then by the end of the episode, after all this shit, after all is said and done, they decide to not have the other. They decided not to have the other bathroom, and instead just everybody use everybody just uses the bathroom that they feel comfortable with, like men or women, whatever. I don't know where that leaves students who don't identify as either men or women. Whatever. Instead they change the other bathroom into the special bathroom for sissies, or for people who have a problem with, you know, transgender people entering the bathroom. What the I have no idea what the fuck this episode is talking about. And the hell of it is, there's like no transgender people in this episode. No transgender characters. Except maybe Garrison. And maybe Stan. Like Stan actually says something like, because like he finds out that Randy is Lord and that kind of thing. He's just fucking, his mind's blown, and then he says something like, and he's the one like actually staring at the bathrooms and like not knowing what to do. He's like, and he actually explains like I'm sorry, it's just two people are having gender identity. Two people I know are having gender identity issues. So I'm just confused, and it's like the one fucking character in this episode who's actually questioning this shit about himself, and he's not the focus. He's not the focus. And it was weird, the fucking, like, I think, like, a term you'll probably see is trans-trender. Like, trender, right? Like, they're being trendy. You know, that's basically what that's basically what the character, like, you know, what Cartman's doing, what Wendy was doing just to spite Cartman, that's basically what they're doing. They're not actually transgender. They don't actually feel like it. Cartman's just doing it to get benefits. And that's the hell of it is, that's one of the questions you ask yourself when you're questioning this sort of shit about yourself. Like, do I really feel agender? Do I really feel like I don't have a gender? Or do I really feel more feminine? Or am I just lying to myself? Am I trying to feel special? These are things that people actually question about themselves, and what makes them, and this whole thing of like, am I being just trendy? Am I being just, like, am I being myself, or am I faking it just to feel special? It doesn't help. This episode, to be fair, this episode could have been a far worse. This could have been a far more offensive episode. But it still does not help. And the hell of it is, like Randy, dressed up as Lord at work, like he's still working at his meteorology place at work, while still, continuing the whole Lord thing. He's the one that actually faces prejudice about this. Like he gets called into his office. Like he gets called into his office. Like, yes, have a seat. Yes, have a seat, Lord. Is there something you wanted to ask me? Is there something you needed to see me? And there's like this like a female coworker next to him, and she's like, well, we've been expecting concerns, and I think it would be better if you didn't use the women's bathroom. But why? I mean, that the women's bathroom is crucial to my comfort at work, because he writes he writes the Lord songs in the bathroom. But whatever, it's crucial to my work. And then the female coworker's like, look, the women, we women are just not comfortable using the bathroom with somebody who's, and then doesn't finish the sentence. And I'm like, that actually, again, character who's technically not really transgender, but actually faces like some prejudice about this. What a fucking shocker! And the hell of it is, I had this like epiphany, like just a few hours ago. This would have been a far better episode if they ripped off the Tourette's episode. Like if they just did the same exact thing that they did with the Tourette's episode a few seasons back, this would have worked. Like in the Tourette's episode, like like Cartman encounters some kid who has Tourette's, so he's like, he's uncontrollably cursing in the toy store, in the toy store. So Cartman's like, what the hell? And then they explain that that the kid has Tourette's, and then Cartman starts faking that he has Tourette's just so he can say whatever the fuck he wants. And then people are like, okay, whatever, because he has Tourette's. But then Stan points out that he's probably faking, but then Stan or Kyle, Kyle points out that he's probably faking, and so Kyle gets courted off to like a sensitivity place where he actually talks with a poor group of kids who actually have Tourette's, and they actually explain what Tourette's is, and they have different kids with different forms of Tourette's. Like, it's not just a verbal tic, it can be different things. Like, one girl had like this thing that had this tic where it's like, okay, like just sometimes she would uncontrollably just move her head and snap her fingers, or the one kid who had like the uncontrollable chicken gobbling thing or whatever, and that or the cursing. But that episode actually tried to educate people on what Tourette's was, and you could have done this with this episode about transgender people. Like, you could have, like, say if you wanted to go ahead and have Wendy actually be a trans boy, like maybe he's having trouble with his identity, but finally decides, I'm gonna be a boy, and so maybe comes out to Stan, and then he's like, and like either starts going by in the show Wendell, like the masculine version of his name, or like maybe Trevor or something, like a more boyish name like Trevor, and then Cartman catches wind of this and decides, wait a minute. You mean if I identified as a girl, I could just use the girl's bathroom? Sweet! And so he tries to do that. And so he has like that kind of thing. You can make fun of him for being a shitty person like that by doing that. But then you'd actually have a part of the episode where like maybe Trevor, Wendy breaks down and cries because of how either because of how what Cartman's doing is hurting their is hurting them in some way, like, you know, people not taking, you know, since it's Cartman, people don't really take his identity seriously, so people don't end up taking Wendy Trevor's identity seriously, and so like Trevor would break down in front of Stan and then explain like how they feel, like how much they hate how much they don't feel comfortable in their bodies, and they just want to feel like they can express themselves, but they don't, but they can't seem to without people criticizing them. You know, like, you know, actually educating people about this. I don't fucking know. Apparently, this is totally not an important enough issue for South Park to take seriously. This episode just wasn't that funny either, you know? That's the worst, it probably isn't the worst part of it, but it's a comedy show and it wasn't funny. Randy is Lord. Ooh. Fucking funny, I guess. What the fuck are people gonna think of this episode anyway? Like, sure, you have, like, you know, some of the Tumblr people, or, like, some of the fans who are like, oh, yay, they actually said things, oh, they actually said, like, maybe 1 or 2 sentences, like, you know, like, goddamn it, Cartman, people actually do are struggling with their identities. Like, yeah, 1 or 2 5 fucking lines in the entire episode. One fucking thing that was weird about this episode was that, like, when, like, Cartman is having this discussion with the principal, and then, you know, about you know, him identifying as a woman, as you know, as a girl, and then, like, and then the principal says something like, oh, what, are you saying that you're also attracted to boys now? I'm like, but, like, wait, what? And like, Cartman says, like, no, and says, like, Cartman, no, in fact, my gender identity has nothing to do with my sexuality. And I'm like, he's not wrong. Gender identity has nothing to do with your sexual orientation. Nothing. Like, it might depend on what labels you use. Sure, it might change what labels you might use, but they're not really related. Like, what the fuck? And then, like, later on, when Wendy decides to, like, pretend to be Wendell just to fuck with Cartman, then Cartman goes up to yell at Stan, and Cartman's just like, hey, did you know that your girlfriend's trying to, is basically saying you're gay? Wait, what? Now, like, when he starts identifying as a boy, so he's attracted to girls, but he's still dating you, so you're a gay. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know if they care. Obviously they don't. No special treatment. Everyone gets made fun of. Well, let's make fun of everyone, except Tourette's people. Except people with Tourette's. No, we have to take special time to educate people on that. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that offended people who have Tourette's. It's just sorry. Just got a little heat in the moment there. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna watch South Park anymore. I mean, I wasn't really watching it now. Because the thing about South Park, it gets really repetitive. Like, you kind of watch some of the more popular shit, like, like the earlier seasons, and then later seasons, things just kind of fizzle out. It's just, either you don't find it funny anymore, or it just seems like the same kind of stuff over and over again. Yeah, it just wasn't. It just not only was it not really a good episode. It wasn't funny. It didn't really say anything. It just doesn't help. like, I wasn't as offended by it. I wasn't as immediately offended by it like I was with Box Trolls. To be fair, with Box Trolls, I wasn't expecting what the fuck was happening in Box Trolls. But in this episode, like, I started hearing buzz about it on Twitter. I'm like, oh shit, no, they're not doing this right. What the fuck? And then I just see some, like positive things about it, and okay. And then I watch it for myself, and it's like, it's not either. It's not offensive enough to be. It's not offensive enough to get angry about it. It's not offensive enough to get, like, vitriolic about it. It's not empathetic enough to be remotely helpful. There's no transgender character in the episode, except, maybe Stan, who's gender questioning, really. It's just not good. Man. I gotta try and get some sleep, but those are my 2 cents. Oh well. What can you do? Good night.